Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're playing Doctor.
That's right, Johnny. We're playing Doctor. I thought, it's Women's Month, or at least when this comes out, it'll be at the very tail end of Women's Month, which shows you
snuck one in there.
shows you how high that is on our priority list. But I thought, what better way to celebrate women than talk about women's health issues through the ages and how male doctors responded to that.
So not the current ones that they're dealing with the whole bodily autonomy thing. Historically, what they've had to go through.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I'm sure this is much kinder and gentler than what they're dealing with now.
It sure was. It's something, I'll tell you that. And sadly enough, how long this goes with some of the terminology and stuff here, really going to blow your mind about how embarrassing this is. But in any case, Johnny, like I said, National Women's Month. Two white dudes talking to women about their health issues. Why not?
We've been the demographic making decisions on women's health since the beginning. So who would be more qualified to talk about women's health?
Right. So
I can't think of anybody.
I can't think of anybody. On the docket today, Johnny, is a prominent women's health issue, which was very, very prominent in the Victorian era of America, known as
years Victorian?
Like 1800s. Like 1800s, late 1800s to early 1900s, yeah.
And that was big dress style, right?
Sort of. Civil War up to like flapper girls are still kind of sort of. I mean, they're not really Victorian era then, but like the early 1900s.
Okay.
Mid 1800s. So
turn of the century.
Civil War to the turn of the century. Yep. So the big issue for women back then was something called female hysteria, Johnny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Female hysteria was a common diagnosis for ailing women who suffered from any of the following: anxiety, shortness of breath, fainting, nervousness, sexual desire, i.e. too much or too little.
Too much or too little.
Too much or too little.
Got it.
Insomnia, fluid retention, loss of appetite for food or sex, sexual forward behavior, and I shit you not, Johnny, this was listed in the medical doctors, a tendency to cause trouble for others. So this is a woman who won't keep her mouth shut.
And this was under a blanket term called hysteria, which they could
hysteria,
committed to a doctor for. I imagine they would have to commit themselves, right? They would have to be, I'm experiencing symptoms of hysteria and I need to get treated for this.
I'm just saying, Johnny, like when we're at home and our wives start talking back to us, we take them to the doctor because clearly they're hysterical and they need to get that resolved.
So it was the men checking them in if they were too sexual or not sexual enough, or if they were retaining fluid, which is code for have gained some weight.
Yes.
They could be sent to the doctor to be treated for this. Okay, that's great. That seems normal.
Female hysteria, that terminology, actually is a belief that goes all the way back to 500 BC when Hippocrates suggested that women suffered from wandering wombs that just floated around in their bellies, and if not kept in check, that it would make women go crazy.
How would one keep a wandering womb in check? Or is it just one of those things where you either were in line and your womb was not wandering, and if you were out of line, it must have been.
Well, we'll get to
then we have to stone you or whatever.
We'll get to the treatments here, Johnny. In fact, hysteria, the word hysteria, actually derives from the Greek word hystera, which means uterus. So apparently, only women could be crazy because only women have uterusi.
Yes, right. Yeah, of course. Well, and men were making the rules, and we're not to be challenged in any way, shape, or form.
God, no. A few hundred years after Hippocrates, the wandering room theory came about, in Rome, a Greek physician named Claudius Galenus, shortened to Galen, he said that the wandering room caused by lack of sexual gratification, and so married women aren't crazy because they get sex on a regular basis, and unmarried women just need to be massaged back into sanity.
Right, yeah, and no doubt the married women were all very satisfied with the sexual relationship they were involved in because they married for love back then.
So the origin of this female, they sure did. So the origin of female hysteria is all the way back into 500 BC, where they said it's because your womb is wandering.
Right,
and then a couple hundred years later, it was
not
determined
enough sex.
The fix to that is massaging or
massaging.
sex.
So shoulders, back.
I think
type.
a little
Is
farther.
they
I think
have-
a little farther south there, Johnny. is
Were,
what
were
they're-
did they come up with like massaging devices?
They
that,
they
have
sure
been?
will, Johnny, and that's where we're going to jump back to the Victorian era in the United States.
Ah.
All these symptoms of female hysteria are attributed to what male doctors at the time blamed on tension. So we changed the whole
Okay.
sexual desire and just flattened it to a general term
just
of tension. They're just
tense.
tight. Yeah, they're just tense.
They're tightly wound because we've been ignoring them and belittling them and not letting them have opinions or anything for so long. They just need to relax. They need need a massage.
So, Johnny, you relieve such tension through a process called hysterical paroxysm, which is AKA the female orgasm. In fact, this is, Johnny, and I shit you not.
Wait, I thought that was a myth.
No, well, it's the official medical term for a female orgasm was hysterical paroxysm, and that was used all the way up until 2019. 2019, Johnny.
Well,
we were
I'm
using
sorry,
this term as the medical term for female orgasm. Not just orgasm. Just
And then in
female.
2019, we
decided
changed
it's
it
just orgasm.
to be like, oh, maybe that's a little outdated. We'll just call it orgasm.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Pretty-
It's just that. It's not.
Yep.
It's not this random cure for hysteria.
Nope, it's just an orgasm.
Now I imagine there wasn't a ton of pushback in the Victorian era from the women who were receiving home remedies.
Well, you're not entirely wrong, Johnny, and that will become an issue here in a few minutes. So
An issue, of course, because that's the too much sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
So doctors often prescribed pelvic massages, and women would literally go to the doctor, to a specialist who would massage their pelvic regions to induce hysterical paroxysm. And I mean, men still do that. To be fair, men still do this to this day. They go into massage parlors and get the happy ending.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Sure.
same thing.
Yes, but men were sending their wives who they weren't listening, whatever they were in some form of hysterics. They were saying you need to go to the doctor and get a pelvic exam.
Yeah, he's gonna
or
flick your
massage.
bean.
I guess not an exam.
No, it's not an exam.
Yeah.
The doctors literally just
For
flick your bean.
science.
Yep.
Yeah, for science.
To show just how prevalent this
It's a thankless job.
very thankless job. To show just how prevalent this issue was, in 1913, a doctor by the name of Dr. Havelock Ellis, who's the author of Psychology and Sex, found that 75% of women were being diagnosed with female hysteria. And I wonder why,
Wow.
Johnny, because
That is prevalent.
oh no, I have to go to the doctor to get off.
I have to go to somebody who is trained or at least very, very practiced and efficient at achieving female orgasm. I have to go do that. And it's medically required.
It is medically required, yes.
Does insurance cover this? I mean, sure.
Well, I don't know how much insurance
right?
existed at that point, but yeah, sure, yeah. So,
I mean,
some specialists began using medical vibration devices to assist in the aid of inducing the hysterical paroxysms. So it wasn't even that long either there, Johnny. In 1920s, this was actually still going on. Like, it was a very common theme for you to go to the doctor to get
vibrated on.
Although some of them was just massages, but some of the doctors, the better
Well,
doctors had the equipment.
Yeah, it depends on what class you were, I suppose.
Johnny, in fact, this leads us to the first vibrating device to aid doctors in inducing hysterical paroxysm, which was the manipulator.
Why would you give it such a... What the...
It was patented
What
by...
kind of name is that?
It was patented by Dr. George Taylor, and I shit you not, 1869.
Dr. George, come on, bud.
Now, the manipulator had its patient sit on a padded table. So picture a table like this with a pad. There's a hole in the table.
Sure.
At the right position for the woman.
Yeah, no, I've seen these. Yeah.
Yeah, and a device. Think a la the massaging wands that you have today.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
That would come up.
That's less of a vibration and more of a thrust
No. This was it was like the you know it's a circle
okay.
thing that
Yeah,
vibrates.
I'm on board now.
It's not going. Yeah, it's not going in. It's
Gotcha.
That's a very important. We'll get there in a second.
That is very important because
nothing. No insertion.
You don't want to upset God.
No insertion. This is all on the surface, and we'll get there in a second. Now, the device would vibrate, and it was powered by a fucking steam engine, Johnny. So picture this table with this device that would vibrate, and the steam engine that would like power the thing to spin and vibrate.
It's like a steam engine vibrating pommel horse.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. But it's a steam engine. It's powered by steam.
That's wow. All right. Get after it, Dr. George.
The problem here, though, is that the manipulator was a very large device, too heavy to be portable, and it was also very expensive because it's a freaking steam engine.
Okay, but most medical devices are. Let me go to a dentist office. There's a reason they don't come to you.
But that's why, so this device was expensive, so few doctors could actually afford it. But that didn't let...
you got to be rich.
But that didn't let American ingenuity stop you. I mean, where there's a problem, capitalism will solve it, right? Or at least that's what we're told.
Well, I mean, it's just like the computer. The first computer was the size of a friggin' room, and then it quickly was made able to be taken home. So I imagine something similar happened with this. They started making briefcase-sized, and then pocket-sized, and then,
Eventually, because in 1880, Johnny, just a little over a decade after this, the manipulator was invented. There's a physician by the name of Mortimer Granville who invented the first portable battery-powered vibrator that weighed over 40 pounds.
Oh, wow. Okay, I thought we made some leaps there.
Well, there's a leap.
40 pounds.
There's a leap. 40 pounds is a lot better than a table and a steam engine.
Okay, how much of that weight's in the battery? I mean, it's got to be a lot. I mean, batteries back then had to have been... It was all battery, right?
It was all battery, yeah. It was not the... We're definitely
like
not
a little thing on the end. That
it's not a AAA here. Now,
no.
I have to point out that Dr. Granville did not intend this device to be used to treat female hysteria. His intention was for it to be treated, or to use to treat male muscle fatigue. So this vibrating device would be put on sore muscles.
Oh, so like the thing that they actually have today that you can get that is for that punches the muscles or whatever, like that thing.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah,
early version of that.
That's what it was supposed to be used. But it wasn't very long before doctors discovered that was very, very useful to induce hysterical paroxysm in women.
Velcro was invented for space to keep things from floating around, and now we use it for shoes. So
yeah, right. Now
we adapt things.
I have to also point out here that Dr. Granville, when he said he specifically didn't want it to be used to treat female hysteria, he said he thought the device would be too effective and women would start to fake their symptoms in order to get access to it.
As if they haven't already been. I mean, come on.
So
when you make up a disease as ridiculous as hysterics, and it starts to go from men being like, my wife has this, to the women being like, oh, I think I might have that thing. Maybe there's a reason why, and maybe it's because you came up with too good of a solution to cure this.
You sure did, but this is still too heavy of an object in a doctor's office, too expensive, too heavy, all that fun stuff. So naturally,
well, and batteries, you got to buy new ones or recharge them all that stuff.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
How do you get about that? And that's
medical treatment in the U.S. was expensive at the time, still is very much expensive in today. So it wasn't long before catalog ads began popping up for home aid kits where women can induce their own hysterical paroxysm to treat their female hysteria.
Are you popping these up right now? Are these?
Yeah, I'll be putting up some of the there'll be ads.
I've seen some of these just like on the internet in the wild, and good God, they're hilarious.
I'll be putting a bunch of these pictures up as we talk about them. Some of these ads included specialized douches, water jets that were operated by hand cranks.
Why? I mean, I understand these steps had to be taken, but my goodness, Masturbating sure was complicated back in the day.
Well,
Can you imagine having, like, hand cranking your water pump?
Yeah. This one was my
Get rid
favorite.
of your hysterics.
This is my favorite. A water wheel that would be attached to the bath spout or the bath spigot, and then would spin up and then do its business.
Right.
So basically, women are still doing this today. They get those specialized power jets.
I mean,
same damn thing. Yeah.
There's a reason all the shower heads are on handles now. You can't get one without a handle. Like they just don't exist.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
When's the last time you changed the settings on your shower head, men?
Yeah, right. It's set on the one, and then it's weird. You get into the shower after your wife gets in the shower. And it's like, why is this changed?
That's weird, huh? Must be she needs to get shampoo out of her hair or something.
Yeah, really pressurized shampoo out of her hair. And of course, Johnny, there was also medical vibrators. Which, after the Industrial Revolution, the first electrical devices, Johnny, think about it, the very first electrical device to enter the house, commonly enter the household. Can you guess what that is? Huh?
Light bulb.
No. Guess again.
Toaster.
Nope. Guess again.
TV.
Nope. Well, oh God, no, Johnny. You're way too early for TV.
Was it something to do with sex?
No, it was actually the sewing machine was the very first
Why'd you lead me down this trail?
Because the second device was a vibrator, but the first one was the sewing.
Boy, that was a long walk for a short drink of water.
But before you get to the toaster, before the toaster even enters the household, and before the common electric light bulb enters the household, you have vibrators in the household to treat female hysteria.
Well, but you mentioned how prominent female hysteria was, so it would make sense that was something that we had to fix right off the bat. Make sure women were getting the appropriate amount of sex. Not too much, not too little.
Too much, too little. And by the by, you might be wondering, America at this time was pretty ultra-religious. How were they okay with this? And well, Johnny, they were okay with it because clearly it wasn't sexual. Doctors at this time viewed penetration as sexual. Thereby, they were opposed to use of tampons and speculums. So, the things...
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't use those because those go inside, so that's sex.
Yep, that is sex.
Completely medical, no sexual gratification from either of those two devices.
God does not want that.
That's sex because it goes in.
A quick side note and random, I guess, what is it when you support something? I don't know. Hall & Oates, do you know them?
The band?
The female comedy band.
The band. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got, yes.
Not Hall &
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, they're a playoff.
Garfunkel and Oates.
Garfunkel and Oates. Yes, Hall & Oates is the actual
Garfunkel and Oates. God's Loophole. Go ahead and do yourself a favor and YouTube that.
YouTube that one. Yeah. So, in any case, no penetration means no sex. So, bean flicking, that's okay as long as it's clitoral stimulation. So, which you also have to remind yourself here. Now, when you're going on your TikToks, you're your kid. There's always this joke that men don't know where the clitoris is.
Oh yeah.
Let that sink in for a second, men. Victorian era doctors knew where the clitoris was. And we're like, that's not sex. We just wicked to get rid of human hysteria. And now, all this time forward, modern guys just don't know where it is.
Tommy, these men got their doctor's degree.
Fair point.
To learn where it was.
To specifically open a practice where that's all they do.
That's a 7-year degree. Like that. I mean, come on. You can't expect everybody to commit that kind of time.
Fair point. And that brings us up to the problem when vibrators turn from medical to personal,
recreational. Is this the weed debate?
This is the weed debate, and like all debates in sexuality and anything like what society hates, pornography is what ultimately is to blame.
Yeah.
Now you see,
the advent of it, because I'm sure pornography hadn't existed.
No, porn has always existed as far back as you go into cave drawings. You see big old titty booby
sex
sex
first
scenes.
thing they were drawing.
Yep.
It's all people did. I remember there was an article about them transcribing some ancient Viking text on a wall somewhere, and it was just it was sex stuff, it was penis jokes, and it was like Vlad was here or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's all the same shit that we do.
It's the same shit we do. It's all just graffiti on a railway bridge.
Yep.
Same stuff.
Yep. So, but pornography is to blame. Now, by the 1920s, pictures, pornographic pictures turn into
they can start to
pornographic film.
Moving pictures.
And these films begin to be called stag films, and they are introduced in the 1920s. And like porn today,
do we know why stag films?
I didn't really look up why the term stag.
Isn't stag like a bachelor in Britain?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
So maybe it's for single dudes.
Maybe it's one of those ye olden English terms I didn't bother looking up. Probably should have. Oh well. Anyways, so like porn today, though, Johnny, if you can think of it, it exists.
Rule 34 existed all the way back in the early times.
It wasn't long until these female vibrators began to find their way into the stag films, and oh god!
But why? Because people had medical fetishes and they wanted to watch a medical exam happen.
If you can think of it,
because it's not sex. It's just a doctor's visit. It's like getting your teeth cleaned.
But if you can think of it, it exists as a porn. And oh god, Johnny, when Karen saw that,
she didn't.
She had herself a little bit of a fit. Didn't take long for
society. Well, what was she doing seeing that?
Right?
She caught her husband. Probably.
Yeah. So it didn't take long for society to equate vibrators to sexual gratification, and once that connection was made, the medical treatment end of it went right out the window.
Yeah. Now, did anybody check to see if all these people that were upset, if maybe they were hysterical?
Right? And
if maybe they were suffering from the very disease that was afflicting these women that needed these devices?
You might be on it, Johnny, because in all honesty, like, right? Like, why?
Sounds like they just might need to get laid. I don't know.
I just never understood, like, why we get... Anyways, we're getting off topic. So, and by not long, I have to reiterate this, by not long about vibrators to sex. Vibrator, the first device, the manipulator, 1860... Yeah. And it took until 1920 for society as a whole to look at that and go, I think they're getting their jollies off on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the human mind is a very, very powerful thing, as we've seen lately. It can be forced to believe a myriad of things that are very clearly not true. And especially if you really want to believe something like, my wife is hysterical and it's a medical condition and she's not going to the doctor just because he knows how to have her achieve orgasm. It's because she needs to, it's
medical treatment.
Yeah, it's a medical thing. And it just that's basically a generation, right? A generation and a half, maybe.
From 60s to the 1920s? It's like,
it's like 60 a generation years. And a half. It's like a generation and a half. So, it was all the old folks saying, oh, nope, it was definitely medical. And then the next group being like, you're telling me it's medical, but I don't know. And by the time they had kids, they're all like, y'all getting off with this stuff? Because it's pretty dope.
In any case, Johnny, with vibrators taking on a sexual identity, medical personnel began viewing the whole female hysteria thing as, maybe not so accurate of a farce? In medical terms, yeah.
A bit of a farce.
But it would still take, Johnny...
it lost its power and control over women. They got something they wanted, and they're like, I think I was wrong about that, probably.
Probably. But it would still take until 1952 in the American Psychiatric Association's revision of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders before they would remove the term female hysteria from the diagnosis list.
1952
it's finally removed. But it's also imperative to point out that it actually wasn't...
What did they replace it with?
They replaced it with the term histrionic personality disorder, or what should be our new podcast name. It should be histrionic personality disorder.
I went with hysterical hindsight for this episode.
It is hysterical hindsight.
That's unreal to me. So what is it now defined as? Is it the same thing? Surely not. I mean, hysteria is a thing that could exist, but it's obviously not what they said it was.
So histrionic personality disorder could be applied to both male and female. They realize, like, well, there are some batshit fucking crazy men out there too.
Let's use this hysteria word that is, kind of...
That term itself stayed in the medical books until 2019.
And then...
Where it's been removed because it's too broad of a category. Like, there are reasons that people have these symptoms. Like, there are reasons for anxiety, anxiety disorder or social anxiety disorder. I don't like people in large groups. I hate that. And you get me in a confined area with lots of people, I start to fucking panic. That is social anxiety disorder. That is one type of anxiety. There are thousands of types of anxiety.
general anxiety disorder, which is just a constant anxiety.
Anxiety. This what you got?
I
just getting anxious when there's lots of people around me, and I don't like it.
I just get anxious when I exist. What are you gonna do?
And so like those general broad terms have tended to have gotten knocked out.
So now in 2019 they're just like
nope.
We've covered it with other
3 years
things
ago.
that we've
3 years
found
ago,
out
we just
about.
finally,
We've categorized, we've named, and everything else, and now we don't need this made up thing that was used to. It was used to control women initially, right? That disease, like it was a way.
And then when women found out that they could get their jollies off by going to the doctor and claiming these symptoms, and the men we can't have that. Can't have women being sexually gratified.
Forgive my timeline. Is this just something they did post the Salem witch hunt when they're like, oh, we can't call them witches anymore, so now they're hysterical, and that's how we'll punish them?
It becomes really that term and the treatment for that term becomes really popular in Victorian America, so that would be like that's post Salem witch trials, but that's like hundreds of years post Salem witch trials. Yeah.
Okay, long time.
Because the Salem witch trials was 1600s.
So we probably figured out ways in between those two.
Yeah, there's some other. Yep. Oh, by the way, in the Salem witch trials, sidebar, that like when America was doing Salem witch trials, the rest of the world went, "You guys are fucking nuts, right? You know that the witches don't exist." But in America, we're like, witches are still here.
No, I'm pretty sure.
That's a story for later. That's a story.
We didn't get rid of all of them. They're still around, Tommy.
Yeah, you date them. Anyways, that's it. That's female hysteria. So, women, we salute you. And just think, a few years ago, when your grandparents were alive, they probably were going to the doctor to get their bean flicked.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about why Wisconsin doesn't own Michigan's peninsula.